Howdy, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Quinn. I'm a CS student about to graduate this August with a background in game engine development, most notably XR or extended reality. So think like virtual reality, augmented reality stuff, as well as graphics programming. And like every CS dev, I've grown a huge interest into AI and all the applications there. I've done a couple internships and I worked at a couple startups, but most importantly, I like to build stuff, and I like to build stuff a lot. So here we are at the Gemma for Good Hackathon, where I am going to be recording devlogs. And I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. One, to help keep me accountable, and maybe you guys can bully me in the comments, maybe. And two, for visibility, because building in public is kind of a thing these days. And you know your boy's hopping on. So context for this whole thing, Gemma 4 is Google's new lightweight SLM, small language model. It comes in sizes small enough to run on a phone. The benchmarks for its size are genuinely impressive. It's got strong reasoning, it's got native function calling, and multimodal support all baked into one thing. I'm also going to be competing in the Cactus track. So Cactus is an on-device inference engine that lets you run models like Gemma directly on the hardware, with ideally no cloud or API calls, just local compute. It also has a built-in speech-to-text pipeline that I'm hoping to leverage. So voice input is already handled on that. And yeah, Cactus is just built for phones and wearables in general. But since it targets ARM Android and the Quest is basically an Android device with a Snapdragon processor, I'm going to try and get it running on the VR headset. If it doesn't work, I'll pivot. The feasibility looks strong, and if you're not experimenting in a hackathon, what are you even doing, bro? So yeah, the whole idea, everything runs locally, no cloud calls preferred, although Cactus does support cloud fallback if I need it. But the whole goal of the project is to build a simulation-aware AI system for VR. So that just means that like the AI isn't just responding to text prompts, like it actually knows what's going on inside the simulation. It can react to it. You can talk to it naturally, and instead of acting like a normal chatbot, it actually sees like the current state of like the simulation or game or whatever, and like it keeps track of what's being changed over time, and it can call actions directly inside the simulation through the whole Gemma native function calling feature. So as far as game plan goes, first this is all done in Unity, just because it has better VR support and it's just easier to work with in general. Maybe in the future there'll be make a framework for Unreal, but we're doing Unity for this project. So yeah, first there's the simulation framework. So that's like my reusable way for any Unity scene to expose its state and like define actions that AI can trigger in your game or simulation. Second, there is the conversation system, which is the core loop of this thing. Like, yeah, you'll take the user input plus the simulation state and the packages all as context, and then send it back to the model. The model will parse that and then execute any tool calls and send it back to the simulation, and then feeds all that results back in for the next turn, and then it'll just loop and loop and loop. Then on top of all that, I'm going to build an actual real scenario to demo it, targeting the health track with like an emergency response training simulation. So I've got some ideas for that as well. Yeah, so as far as now, I've mostly been focusing on getting the architecture solid before touching any VR. On the AI side, I've got Gemma running locally on my desktop, and I verified the full request to response flow, and that's hooked up into Unity as well. In Unity, I built this simulation conversion manager that handles all the state injection, the structured completions, the tool execution, and the follow-up responses. Now, Loop is also working end-to-end, so good progress there. I've also made this debug harness in Unity so I can test without needing the headset. It shows the simulation state and like the message history and all the tool calls, basically everything going on under the hood. So I can kind of monitor that. And then I added runtime switching, so I can swap between desktop Gemma with no Cactus and then Quest with Cactus, or any scripted fallback for testing. What's not done yet is the Quest side and the voice pipeline, because I don't even have a Quest 3 yet. So I'm trying to work with my school on that. I only have a Quest 2, and that doesn't have enough compute. So yeah, next step will be get my hands on a headset, getting Cactus compiled and running on that device, adding that whole microphone input on-device transcription through Cactus speech-to-text pipeline, and then getting that running in VR. Yeah, so the whole goal is to keep this fully reusable, not just one demo, but like an actual framework that any VR simulation can plug into. So yeah, I'll keep these devlogs pretty short. I'll just post progress as I go. Next one should hopefully have the quest side working. So stay tuned for that. See ya, everyone.